Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. My name is Ngọc and I'm currently studying at Saigon University and my major is English Linguistics. A few days ago, I went on a field trip, or the second field trip to be honest, to the central region of Vietnam, which were Nha Trang and Quy Nhơn. And though this trip was shorter compared to the trip that my seniors assigned, it was still fulfilling and delighted. More importantly, we learned a lot through this trip. I shall not keep you waiting. Let's begin.
Just like the first trip, we students gather at school in the early morning. When the bus was full, as our teacher and guide made sure everyone were present, the trip began. Before we reached the destination, we had to have our breakfast, getting enough energy to stay awake. As to why I wanted to stay awake, this is the reason. I've always heard how people praise Vietnam nature beauty, and now I have the chance to witness it with my own eyes. I think what they say are right. We stopped by a restaurant in Cana to have lunch and take pictures. This place was well known for its location by the beach, offering customers the best view and beautiful scenery, as well as photos and selfies. The first day was quite relaxing, as we only had team building event awaited us at Nha Trang Beach. Though some games were similar to the first field trip, we had to admit we enjoyed them to the fullest. On the second day, we started our trip to Nha Trang Bay Assembly Hall. Just like its name, the hall was built from the assembly of 15 room houses of Huế, arranged in a U shape with Vietnamese architecture. In here, there were musicians who excelled in playing traditional musical instruments like monochord, zither, trung, and so on. I didn't get a good view, and the light was a bit flashy, but I could say that their performances were spectacular. After the show ended, we made our way to the back of the house and straight to Hòn Chồng. From what I heard, Hòn Chồng was one of two large rock clusters on the coast at the foot of La Sang Hill. Surrounding it was numerous rocks with different shapes and sizes, either lying on the sand or stacked on one another. We had to take really careful steps in case we got slipped or tripped, and the effort of climbing was worth it because the scene up here was beautiful. Our next stop was Gành Đá Đĩa, a famous natural wonder in Phú Yên. The last thing I expected here was to see horses. According to researchers, the rocks at Gành Đá Đĩa were basalt rocks formed by volcano eruptions millions of years ago. The shape of these rocks reminded me of a pentagon-shaped honeycomb, and together they make a majestic honeycomb. Similar to Hòn Chồng, we had to be careful with each step because of its terrain. Aside from the cliff, it wasn't every day that you get to see the breathtaking scene of the sky above. Also, I got something while wandering in there. A seashell. Beautiful, right? Built in 1822 with Gothic-like architecture, Mang Lăng Church was known as one of the oldest Catholic churches in Vietnam. We were guided in a chamber located underground, and inside we discovered many pictures taken in the old days, reflecting the history of the church and of Andrew Phú Yên. One thing that stood out most was the 8-day sermon. The book had 119 pages, and while the left side was Latin, the right side was Vietnamese. As we went deeper to the room of the traditional church, we heard stories about Andrew Phú Yên and his life as a proto-martyr of Vietnam. Here lie the statue of him in ratio 1:1, and the piece of his hair that was perceived for years. Contrast to the tunnel, the big church was adorned with new tables and well-painted pillars. While waiting for the meeting, I was able to record the view hotel. No wonder this place is so expensive. We all dressed up formally to meet the Vice CEO of Saigon Huỳnh Hotel. One of the few parts I awaited in this trip was Quang Trung Museum. By any chance you are interested or in love with the history of Vietnam, you should pay this place a visit. Because in the exhibition house was magnificent. On the wall of the museum were large paintings. Special relics like weapons, some old documents, and of course artifacts, along with many pictures. I actually love models of the village where they live. It looks simple. The effort of making it was admirable. Also, I just couldn't get enough of the paintings. Just look at this. The artist clearly did a great job in showing the spirit of the soldiers, the hardships that we faced that day, and the meticulous care in how every artwork looks so brilliant. Here, visitors and tourists could have the chance to see the traditional performance in the Tay Sơn Martial Art Performance House. The first performance was drum music, which started slow and gradually grew faster. Continuing the drum performance was many weapons combining with martial arts showcases. The best part of the trip, which was also the worst part, was eo gió. It could have been the best if it weren't for the sudden and relentless raining here. The view was only fine due to the rain, and it was a mistake to bring an umbrella. Seeing others walking down the stairs, I also came along, and the view down here was worth the walking. Just serene waves slowly crashing through the rocks. I would like to spend more time there, but because of the unwelcome rain, I decided to leave early. In this trip, we got a task to interview one person or many people. Cho mình hỏi là bạn có thể giới thiệu sơ về bản thân được không?
Dạ, mình tên Nhi, đến đây mình 2K7.
Bạn học ở trường nào vậy?
Dạ, mình học ở trường Nguyễn Thái Học.
Vậy là bạn cũng là dân địa phương đây luôn hả?
Dạ, dân địa phương.
Vậy bạn thấy Quy Nhơn là một nơi như thế nào?
Dạ đẹp và giá thành của thứ rất là rẻ.
Bạn có giống như là có một số ý kiến gì về mà để khách nước ngoài khách nước ngoài mà muốn đi tham quan thì sẽ đi tham quan những nơi nào á?
Dạ, đầu tiên là chắc là thành phố biển, tại vì biển ở đây rất là đẹp. Ở đây thì còn có cây co, eo gió nữa.
Cảm ơn bạn nha. We started the fourth day by leaving Quy Nhơn. On our way, we had one new destination, Explora Science Quy Nhơn. This place was considered the first space science center in Vietnam and the second in Southeast Asia. Outside the building was vast playground filled with science games. This was a model of Space Shuttle Endeavour and Apollo 11. What captured my eyes was the exhibition room about the solar system. There was a model simulating the motion of planets. And this large sphere used to simulate Earth as well as other planets in real time or close to real time. The researcher here was very enthusiastic as he explained everything about the solar system and the Earth to us. In other rooms, Many experiments that we had heard or learned before were on display here. The topic about environmental problems was always a hot one, and to see it in here actually shocked me. But it makes sense. Various models here were interactive ones. We could actually watch a movie inside this building, and due to copyright, we weren't allowed to film it. I wasn't one like physics too much, but it was fun to watch. While some experiments were familiar to me, some weren't. That was pretty much for day 4. The weather clearly wasn't good, and either was my health. We managed to reach the Institute of Oceanography. Of all the destinations, these were the place I anticipated to come the most. There were many fossils like the humpback whale, Chinese sturgeon, shark jaws, and spotted seals. As a person who was dearly fascinated by sharks, it was an opportunity for me to see them from close distance. Because of the limited time, I could only film a few fish, like this silly guy, or these beautiful fish. And look who I met, Dory! It was today that I learned she was a blue tang. Another thing fascinated me was this peculiar sea anemone. I never thought that I would be able to capture these scenes because it was so beautiful. Much to my dismay, we had to leave to be on time and go home soon. Our first stop was at Phan Rang. I actually had a fever at that moment, so I barely remember anything. Still, I was sure that this market sold a lot of things. We went back to Ghana at the same restaurant on day 1. The atmosphere had become more soothing, resulting in many clips I took that day look ethereal. I also found out this pretty seashell. Gonna add it to my collection then. Our journey back home continued for several hours. And thank God I finally got back to school. I swear I won't ever forget this field trip. And finally, thank you for listening.